We say nice so casually, right? But what if it's more than just good manners? What if it's like this deeply ingrained survival thing? We're going deep on this whole niceness as an evolutionary strategy thing today, and wow, some of this stuff is wild.
Yeah, it really makes you think.
It really does. So we're looking at how being decent, being kind, it might be in our genes, our brains, even shape how entire societies work.
Yeah.
And don't worry, this isn't about becoming a pushover. It's about the power of, being pro-social.
Right, right.
Okay, so evolution. It's all about survival of the fittest, passing on your genes. Where does being nice fit into that? Shouldn't it be everyone for themselves?
You'd think so, but actually, cooperation, a lot of times disguised as niceness, is crucial. Think about reciprocal altruism. Basically, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, but like caveman style.
I like it.
One of the articles you sent actually had the study hunter-gatherer groups, the ones who shared food when times were good. They were way more likely to get help when things got rough. Being nice was like insurance, increased everyone's chances.
It's true. Like investing in a social safety net, right?
Exactly. And it's not just about strangers either. Think about family. That's where kin selection comes in.
Okay, I've heard of that, I think.
It's like being nice to your family, even if it costs you a little, makes evolutionary sense because it helps your genes get passed down.
So that's why grandparents are so nice.
Uh-huh. Exactly. But it goes beyond just your immediate family, right? It's whole groups. Survival of the Friendliest, that book you sent, it's all about this group selection. Societies where people are kind, they cooperate, they just do better. Sharing, support, it's like this collective strength.
So we're hardwired for this. It's not just being polite. It's in our DNA to be nice. Tell me more about how this actually works in our brains.
Well, you know how we keep talking about that human need for connection? That's where the psychology of this gets really interesting. We are wired for it, and when we do something kind or someone's kind to us, our brains release oxytocin, the love hormone.
I've heard of that.
It's like a biological reward for being nice. Builds trust, all that good stuff.
It's like we're programmed to get a little mood boost from being nice and from other people being nice to us. But there's got to be more to it than just like good vibes.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Think of it like you're building this social capital account. Every nice thing you do, it's like a deposit. And that balance, that can pay off in some pretty amazing ways.
How so?
Well, your relationships are stronger, you've got a better support network. It can even boost your career, believe it or not.
Didn't the niceness advantage talk about that? Something about how people who are seen as kind and trustworthy tend to do better professionally.
Exactly. And when you've got those strong social bonds, it's like having a safety net, especially when things get tough, you know?
Yeah, totally. Makes you think about those stories of people helping each other out after like a natural disaster or something.
Exactly. It all comes back to that oxytocin, those social bonds it helps build. That
Yeah.
trust, that feeling of we're in this together, that's powerful stuff.
So we've gone from genes to brains to like society as a whole. How does niceness play out on that larger scale?
Now that's where things get really interesting. Pretty much every culture values niceness in some way. But how it's shown, how important it is, that can be totally different.
It's not just about being nice to be nice then. It's about fitting in to the social rules of a specific culture, which back in the day was probably crucial for survival.
Right. I was just reading Moral Tribes. The author, Joshua Green, he talks about how being seen as kind and trustworthy, it kept you from being ostracized.
Which in some societies was basically a death sentence, right?
Pretty much. And you see this idea of niceness as social insurance play out too, especially in places without strong social safety nets.
Makes sense. You're more likely to help someone out if you know they do the same for you. It takes a village and all that.
Exactly. Though, gotta be real, there can be downsides to being too nice.
Oh, I'm sure. It can't all be sunshine and rainbows. What about the people who take advantage?
That's the thing, isn't it? One of the articles talked about setting boundaries, even when you're being kind. If you're always putting others first, well, you risk getting taken advantage of.
So finding that balance is key then, like being helpful and generous, but not letting people walk all over you.
Exactly.
Yeah, no good deed and all that, right?
Hmm.
But seriously, is there ever a time when being too nice can backfire?
You know, it's funny you should say that because, yeah, absolutely. Being nice, cooperative, those are good things, right? But there are certain environments, really competitive ones, where you might need to be more assertive.
Oh, interesting. So being too accommodating people might see that as a weakness.
Yeah, sometimes. If you're always putting others first, especially in those super individualistic fields, it might come across as you lacking confidence or not having that drive.
Wow, that's a good point. So it's like there's a strategy to it, right? Reading the situation.
Yeah, exactly. Like we've been saying, it's all about balance. You can be a good person, kind, respectful, all of that, but still stand up for yourself. There was that article you sent, The Art of Saying No.
Oh, yeah, I like that one.
Right. It's like learning how to set boundaries, it protects you, but it also helps you build real, equal relationships.
That reminds me of that whole Machiavellian niceness thing. Someone using niceness to manipulate, like a total wolf in sheep's clothing.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, right? You can spot fake niceness a mile away. Real niceness, it comes from empathy, wanting everyone to benefit.
So what's the takeaway here? Should we all go full-on ruthless to get ahead? Or is there still a place for being a good person, a nice person?
Honestly, it's not about picking one or the other. We're hardwired for connection, for kindness. It's in our nature right from the start.
Like you said before, it's in our DNA.
Exactly. But like with anything else, we can be mindful about it. We can decide how we express it, adapt depending on the situation. The strongest people, they find that sweet spot, being kind, but also being assertive, knowing their own worth.
Being strategic with our niceness.
Exactly. Think about why you're being nice. What are the good things that can come from it? Are there any downsides? And how do you navigate all of that in a way that feels genuine to you?
Wow, that is a lot to think about. I want to hear from you. Have you ever had niceness really pay off for you? Or maybe the opposite, where it kind of backfired. Share those stories. Let us know. This has been such an interesting conversation, and we can't wait to hear how this all plays out in your own lives.